morning everybody, happy Monday. I hope you've all had a fantastic week off and had some time to relax with your families and all raring to go again for our next week of learning. So today we're going to be looking at start and end times. Now this will carry on from the finding the duration or comparing the duration. So obviously I haven't had a look at those first. Please have a look at those first before moving on to today's lesson, as we're going to be using the similar method that we used for that and moving it on to today's lesson. So we're going to have a quick recap of a question that we were looking at. So we want to find the duration. Remember, duration means the difference between how long it takes to do something. So I've got my first time 11:40 or 20 to 12, and I have got 15:17, which is 17 minutes past 3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write my first number, write my last number, and draw my line in the middle. So that's a little something like this. So then what I'm going to do, I now need to jump. So I'm remembering I've already at the next 10, so I'm going to jump to the next hour. So I need to look at my hour. I've got 11. Just turn that slightly. I've got 11 as my hour, so my next hour is going to be 12. So I'm going to write 12 there. And I want to know how many minutes. So if there's 60 minutes in an hour, if I've done 40 already, there'll be 20 minutes left. So I'm going to write 20 mins. Now I'm at 12. I can now jump all the way up to the hour I'm trying to get to. So I can jump all the way to 15 to 3 o'clock. And I will have jumped 12 to 15. I will have jumped 12, 13, 14, 15. So I'll have jumped 3 hours. And then finally, to get from 15 up to 15:17 or 17 minutes past 3, I need to add 17 minutes. Now, remember what we did last time, we now need to add them all together. So I can write 3 hours, add 20 minutes, remember we start from the biggest number, add 17 minutes. So if I add my minutes first, I can do 20, add 17, so it's 20, add 10 is 30, add 7 is 37. So there's 37 minutes and 3 hours. So I can add my 3 hours. So I know that the duration is 3 hours and 37 minutes. Okay, so now we're going to move on to looking at start and end times. Now, some questions you might get might look at if you've already got the start time, wanting to know how long something lasts, and you want to find the end time, or alternatively, you might have the end time and know how long say a television program had lasted, and we want to know what time it starts. So we're going to use the same method as what we used for finding the duration and comparing the duration, but we're just going to apply it to a different type of question now. So the TV programme started at 2 o'clock and lasted 30 minutes. What time did it end? So what you're going to have a go at doing is you're going to write on your number line, and this time you're going to write what time. So we know it started at 2 o'clock. So I'll just adjust my camera. So we know it started at 2 o'clock, so I can write 2 o'clock. Now you can either write it as 12 hours, so with the number 2, or you can write it as 24 hours as 14, because probably we don't know if it's in the morning or the afternoon. However, sometimes it might say in the morning or in the afternoon. Then we don't know what time it ends, but I want to know what time it ends. So I'm going to put a question mark at this side, because this is what we're trying to find out. Now, I now know that the programme lasted 30 minutes. So from my 2 o'clock, I can add 30 minutes. Now, I can either add it up in stages of 10, or I can just add 30 minutes straight away to my 2 o'clock. Because knowing this, I know there's 60 minutes in a clock, and 30 minutes will be half of that. So adding half an hour to that. So my actual, my hour will not change. And I will add 30 minutes. So it will finish at 2:30 or 2:30. Okay, so looking at this next question, a TV programme started at 2:15 and lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes. What time did it end? So again, I'm going to write 2:15 at the start. I might also put it in 24 hours, especially if it says in the afternoon, and then I can obviously start to add up. Now, what we need to do first is, first of all, look, so it needs us to last 1 hour and 15 minutes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an hour. Now, because I'm adding an hour, my minutes are going to stay the same because I'm not changing the minutes. It is only my hour, so I've got 2 there, so it would become 3. But that's not my answer because it says it lasted 1 hour and 15 minutes. So what I now need to do is I now need to add 15 minutes. Now, if you can't do, obviously we've got 15 here, and we need to add 15 minutes. You can either add it straight away if you know what 15 add 15 is. If not, we could partition and we could break the number 15 down into 5 because that would take us up to the next 10, and 10 as this would take us over. Okay, so I'm going to first of all add 5, and then I'm going to add, which would take me to 320. Then I'm going to add the last 10, which would take me up to 3, let me do that now, 30. Now, as I've said, you could just add 15 straight onto it if you know what 15 add 15 is, or if you need to break it down so that you go to the next 10 and then add the extra numbers on, you could also do that as well, so that we know that the time the TV programme would finish would be 3:30 or 3:30. Okay, so I'd now like you to have a go at doing this one. So a TV programme started at 4:25, or 25 minutes past 4, and lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes. What time did it end? So I'd like you to now have a go at doing that on a piece of paper, and then once you've had a go at it and you think you've got the answer of what time the programme ended at, then you can come back and see if you've got it correct. Remember, if it's a full hour or a full 2 hours, add those first and then add your minutes after. Okay, so let's have a look to see if you've got the right answer. So the programme started at 4:25, so I've wrote start with 4:25, and I know it lasted 2 hours and 10 minutes. What time did it end? So I put a question mark at the end because that's what time I want to know. So it lasted 2 hours. So first of all, I'm going to add my hours. Now I could add 1 hour at a time, or I could just add 2 hours. So because I'm adding 2 whole hours, I know my minutes aren't going to change. So my hours are 4, I need to add 2 to it, which will be 6:25 or 25 minutes past 6. Then I need to add my 10 minutes. So I can add my 10 minutes, which would take me to, my hour would stay the same, 25 add 10 will be 35. Now, if you couldn't do 25 add 10, you could have split the 10 into 2 lots of 5, and you could have added 5 first to take it up to 30, and then added the extra 5 to take it to 35. So I know that the time that my film will end will be 35 minutes past 6, or we could say that that would be 25 minutes to 7. Okay, so looking at this one, what we're going to have a look at doing now is it's slightly different. So it says a TV programme finishes at 2 o'clock and had been on for 30 minutes. What time did it start? So this time we actually know what time it ended, but we need to work out what time it started. So as we don't know what time it started, I'm going to put a question mark at the front of my line because I want to know what time it will start at. Then I know it ended at 2 o'clock, so I can either write it at 2 o'clock in 12 hours or 24 hours. Now, what I would suggest doing is if you are going to go over the midday, the 12 o'clock, it will be worth doing it in 24 hours to make it easier. However, at the minute, because it's only taking off half an hour, I can just use 2 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to start this time at 2 o'clock and I'm going to work backwards now. So I'm going to work backwards. Now it says it's been on for 30 minutes. So I know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. And if I'm taking 30, I can take my zeros, 6 take away 3 is 3, add my 0 on 30. So I know that my minutes are going to be 30 because I have taken off 30 minutes from o'clock, or 30 minutes from 60, because obviously o'clock is 60 minutes. Now, because I'm going back half an hour, I need to look at my hour this time. And if I'm at 2, if I go back, if I'm going back into the hour before, my hour before would be 1:30. Because this time I've taken off 30 minutes and I'm trying to get to the 1. Now what we can do is, if we're unsure whether we've done that correct, we can check it and we can say, right, 30 minutes past 1 or 1:30. If I now reverse it and said I added 30, would I get to 2 o'clock? Yes, I would, because 30 add 30 is 60, which would take me into my next hour, which 1 add the next hour would be 2. So you can check it that way. Okay, so what we're going to have a look at doing is this one now. So a film finished at 2:15. It had been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. What time did it end? Now, because I'm taking a couple of hours off, I'm actually going to use my 24-hour clock just in case it goes before, because that will make it a lot easier for me to be able to see what time it's going to be. So again, I'm going to start at this end and I'm going to work backwards to find out what time it started at, because we know it ended at 2:15. So I'm going to start here, and it says it had been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off 2 hours. Now, because I'm taking off 2 whole hours, my minutes will stay the same. So my minutes will still be 15 minutes past, or quarter past. And I can look at my 14. Now I'm going to take 2 off 14, which would give me 12. So I know it's now 12:15. Then it says it had been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I now need to take off 10 minutes. So I'm at 15. If I take off 10, I will have 5. Now, my hour will stay the same because I've not gone behind it. If I've just put 12 and my colon and 5, can anyone identify the mistake? Pause now and have a look. What is my mistake? Okay, fantastic. If you have said that I need 2 numbers after my colon and I've only got 1 number, you are correct. So remember, if it is 5 or a 1-digit number, I need to put a 0 before it to show that it is 05. Now, if I put my 0 after it, that would be 50, and obviously we don't want 50, we want 5. So I'd like you to have a go at doing this one now on your own. So on the piece of paper, I'd like you to do the same method what we've just been practicing, and I want you to have a go at doing this one. A film finished at 4:45 or 4:45. It had been on for 3 hours and 25 minutes. What time did it start? So I want you to now go and have a go at doing that. So remember, take off your hours first, then take off your minutes. You might need to break your minutes down to make it easier. And then once you've had a go at doing that and you think you know what time the film started at, if you press play, and then you can have a look to see if you got the right answer. So you should have drawn your line, your number line, and then you should have put 16:45 or 4:45 at the end. Remember, you add 12 to turn it into 24 hours if it's in the afternoon. And I want to know what time it starts, so I've put a question mark here. Now, I'm looking at the question and it says it has been on for 3 hours and 25 minutes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off 3 hours. So because I'm taking 3 whole hours, remember my minutes will not change. So that will be 45 minutes past. And my 3 hours from 16 take away 3, 16, 15, 14, 13. So I will take off 3 and it is 13:45 or 1:45. Now it then says I need to take off 25 minutes. Now what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take off 5 minutes. Because if I take off 5 minutes, that will take off my 5 and that will take it to 40. So it will be 13:40. And then now I can take off my 20 minutes. Now you could have taken off the 21st and then taken off the 5 after, or if you could have just done 45, take away 25, you could have also done that. So I know that if I've got 40, I take off 20, I'm going to have 20 minutes left, and it's going to be 13 because it's not gone into the next hour down. So my time would be 1:20. You could have obviously done it as 16:45 or 4:45 because it would not overlap on this one. So you might now have a question like this when you go to do your questions, and it says the start time, the duration and the finish time. Now in order to complete this, the first thing we need to do is we need to look at the analog clock to see what time it starts. And we're going to, if we turn it into a digital clock, we can then work it out and then draw it on, or you could just add from the minute hand, add on 35 minutes to then draw it on. However, I would do it this way because it will make it easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw what time it starts. So I want to see, if I'm writing it as a digital clock, how many minutes pass. So if I start from the 12 and I count round 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So I know 40 minutes has passed, and I know it has gone past the 4. It hasn't gone past the 5 yet, so my hour would be 4. Now it says 35 minutes was my duration. So I'm going to actually partition 35 into 2 numbers. Now to make it easier, I want to go up to my next hour. So if I go 40, I know I would need 20 minutes to get to my next hour. So I'm going to split it, my number, so that 20 is one of the numbers. And then I need to work out how many more numbers to get from 20 to 35. You could either split it into 3 numbers, so you could have 20, 10 and a 5, or you could just split it into 2 numbers, because 20 and 15 is 35. So now I've added my 20 minutes on to start with. I know that my time is going to go into my next hour. As my minutes are going to stay, I have now added the 20 minutes to the 40 to make 60 to go up to my next hour of 5. Now I need to add the extra 15 minutes. So I know that my minutes are going to go from 00 to 15, and my 5 is going to stay the same. So I now know that it is 15 minutes past 5 or quarter past 5. So now what I can do is I can now go and draw it on an analog clock, remembering that if my minutes are at 15, I need to draw my minute hand pointing to the 3, because that's 15 minutes, because there's 5 minutes between each number. And my hour hand will be just after the 5. Remember, it won't be on the 5, because if it's on the 5, that is o'clock, whereas we are 15 minutes past. So now I'd like you to go and have a go at working out the start and end time sheet. I have attached this to Seesaw, so you can access it there, and you also do have it in your packs that you picked up from school a couple of weeks ago as well. Once you've had a go at doing all the questions, if you come back to the video, I will go through the answers. Now I will either talk through, you can either use it as I'm talking through, or you can just mark it on the screen. However, I will be going through the answers to help you if you get any wrong. Okay, so let's have a look at number 1. So Brett gets home from school at this time in the afternoon. He wants to watch a cartoon at 4 p.m. How long does Brett have to wait until the cartoon starts? So first of all, if we have a look at the analog clock, we can see that the minutes are 42 minutes past the hour. So in order to get from 42 minutes, so it's 42 minutes past 3, so we want to know how many minutes until the next hour. So if I could do 60, take away 42, which would get you the answer 18 minutes. So there will be 80 minutes to get back up to the top. Alternatively, you could have counted it on the clock back to see how many more minutes it was. The cartoon lasts for 25 minutes. What time will it finish? Give your answer as a 24-hour clock. Now it says that it started at 4 o'clock and it lasted at 25 minutes, so if we had 25 minutes to 4 o'clock, it will be 4:25. However, it says that Brett gets home from school in the afternoon, so I would need to add 12 to my hour, so it would be 12 add 4, which would be 16, so it would be 25, 16, 25 would be your answer. So make sure you check whether it's in the morning or the afternoon. Okay, number 2. Nija has football practice at 16:10 or 10 minutes past 4. It lasts for 45 minutes. What time will it finish? So once you have done your jumping method, you will have noticed that if you add 45 minutes to 10, you will have got 55. And so your time will be 16:55, because we still want to leave it in the 24-hour clock in the afternoon. Okay, it takes Nija 15 minutes to get home. What time will she get home? So starting from the time which you've just got, 16:55, we now want to add on 15 minutes. So in order to do this, we could start with 16:55. We want to add 15 minutes on. So let's partition our numbers. How many numbers does it take to get to the next hour? 5. How many numbers are left? So it'd be 10. So I can first of all add 5 minutes, which would take me up to my next hour. And then I could add the extra 10 minutes on, which would take me to 17, 10 or 10 minutes past 5. So that's how you will get that answer. Question 3. The table shows the duration of some of the lessons at school. Math starts at 9:15. How long or what time does it finish? So if it starts at 9:15, we need to look in the table, it says 50 minutes. So we need to add 50 minutes to that, which will take you over into the next hour. So it would become 10:05. Now, if you have just put 10, your colon 5, this will be wrong because remember we need to have two numbers after the colon to show the minutes. So we needed to put 0 before the 5. For part B, science starts at 1:30 and we obviously know that this is in the afternoon. What time does it finish? So if it starts at 1:30 and it lasts, if we look in the table, 45 minutes, if you added 45 minutes to your 13:30 or your 1:30, you should have got the answer 14:15. Again, please use your method that we've just talked about. For part C, phonics finishes at 10:50. So we know what time it finishes at, we now want to know what time it started at. So phonics says it lasted for 30 minutes. So I want to now take off 30 minutes from 10:50. So if I did 50 take away 30, I would get 20. So it would be 20 minutes past 10. And finally, English finishes at 3:10 or 15:10 in the afternoon. What time does it start? So if it starts, we don't know what time it starts. It lasted 55 minutes. So again, using our method, starting from this side and then jumping backwards, we would need to do 15:10, take off 55 minutes, which would take you to 14:45. Sorry, not 14:45, 14:15. So 15 minutes past 2. So it should be 14:15 for that answer there. So question 4, Tom wants to watch a film at 18:45. Remember, this is 6:45 or 6:45. The film lasts 1 hour and 23 minutes. Tom shows he's working out. Here are his workings and can you find out what time it finishes? Just like we've done. So he's added his hour first, he's then added 15 minutes so it takes him up to the next hour, and then add the final 8 minutes remaining, and so his answer is 20:08. Now remember, you must put the 0 in to show it is 08, not 80. Fill in the clocks to show the time. So the first one, we did this one as an example. So again, find what time it started. You can either think about where the minute hand would move to, or you could write to the start time and find out what the end time was. And you should have found that the minute hand should be on the 3 to show 15 minutes past, and the hour hand should be just after the 5, so it was 5:15. For part B, 17:51, we first are going to add an hour, which would take us to 18:51. Then if you added 9 minutes, it would take us up to 19, and then I could add the remaining 8 minutes, which would take me to 8 minutes past 7, which is 19:08. But remember, you must put in the 0, there must be 2 numbers after the column. And finally, for part C, 71 minutes. I know that this is 1 hour and 11 minutes because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So I can add an hour first, and then I can move my minute hand 11 minutes. So I could find out that the answer would be 28 minutes past 9. So I would draw the minute hand pointing to 28 minutes past and the hour pointing to nearly halfway past the 9 and going towards the 10. Number 6, Tommy wants to watch a TV programme at 1700, so 5 o'clock. The TV programme is 75 minutes long. The programme will finish at 75 minutes past 5. Do you agree with Tommy? You should have said that no, you don't agree with Tommy because there are 60 minutes in a clock, and so 75 minutes would actually be an extra hour and 15 minutes. So the hour actually should have been 6:15 to show that the time would finish at 18:15, not 75 minutes past 5 because there's only 60 minutes in a clock, in an hour. Number 7, Mr. Lee needs to get the train. The timetable shows what time the trains leave. The train journey lasts 127 minutes. Mr. Lee needs to arrive at his destination at 18:15. What is the latest train he could get? So we could have started from 18:15 and we could have counted back 127 minutes. Now the easiest way to do that would be to convert 127 into minutes into how many hours and how many minutes. Now, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, I know in 120 minutes that is 2 hours and 7 minutes. So if I take 2 hours and 7 minutes off 18:15, that would take me to 16:08. So I need to look which train time could he get as his latest train, which train time is just before 16:08, it would be 16:04. And finally, for part B, Mr. Lee leaves a 19-minute walk from the station. What time does he need to leave his house to catch the train? So starting, we know he needs to catch the train at 16:04, so we need to take 19 minutes off that. So if I show you on here, so make sure you get that correct. So I've put 16:04, I need to take 19. So if I partition this into, if I take off 4 first, which will take me to my hour, I then need to take 4 off 19, which would be 15. So I would then take 15 minutes off my hour from 16. So I know that 60 minutes in an hour, take off 15 will be 45. So, and I would go into the hour before, so it would go into 15:45 or 3:45. So I hope you've all done really well on that. I'd love to see your work on Seesaw, so please do put the work on Seesaw for me to have a look at. Obviously this is a challenge, so do not worry if you didn't get some of the questions. It was a really challenging some challenging questions on this one. Have a lovely day, and I'll be in touch tomorrow.